This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com. Let's get to our main event. Steve Austin is going to go to a no decision with Triple H in about 25 minutes. Meltzer says they kept it out of the ring as much as possible, brawling to the entranceway. Triple H is going to juice heavily after being hit with a TV monitor. Austin's going to drink some beers. And then in the ring, Triple H reverses an attempted stunner and hits a neck breaker, and they're pushing the bad neck. So that becomes sort of the story of, where we're trying to tell, but they're going to take all the big bumps in this, big elbows off the top, going through the announcer's table. We've got some blood and we're really pounding on that. They're pulling out all the stops here, but it does feel like a bit of a weird match. Meltzer would say there was something about a no DQ match with the stipulation of no outside interference ending with a no winner and outside interference combined with them totaling a car that came off like Vince Russo booking. After the show went off the air, Austin came back to the ring to drink a few beers for the post-match celebration, but 3/4 of a star. It is kind of weird. They're backstage. The Radicals all attack Austin. They're putting the focus on Benoit, but Triple H manages to run away. It gets in the car. I don't know. Is it too much to go back and do the car spot again? It's supposed to be this no DQ match, but I don't know. It leaves like there's no, and maybe this is the idea. We're still trying to keep the story going, but you would think on a show like Survivor Series, this is where the stories end, not necessarily a show that's going to get us to the next show, if that makes sense. What'd you think watching this one back?
I thought it had too much extemporaneous, non-traditional wrestling content. I realized that both guys were banged up and they were limited in what they could do. It's a testament to them that they got through what they did. They worked 25 minutes, and Meltzer gave it 3.25 stars. So that was a success in that on this night's ratings from him. But I just thought that it had too much quote unquote entertainment content as far as non in the ring stuff. They're out of the ring a lot, and sometimes you can lose your audience, your live audience, because it restricts sight lines when you're out of the ring and you're everywhere. Everybody can't see it. They can't react to it. If you can't see it, you can't react to it. So as much as I, always enjoyed calling Austin's matches and Triple H matches, I just thought it's too much outside content for me on that. And to go 25 minutes in a no DQ match and have the finish that they had was, I thought, kind of counterproductive. And you don't want to beat Austin coming back from his injury. And so that would not have been a consideration. But there's ways that a great heel, and make no mistake, Triple H was a great heel, that they couldn't come up with something where Triple H did the honors in a close one. Where it's 3.5, the 3.5 and he kicks out, whatever. There could have been something else other than the way we did it, but you can't fault these guys' work. You're 25 minutes beating the hell out of each other. Was pretty damn impressive. I just didn't like the closing sequence where the finish was what it was. And I think the audience was a little bit disappointed in it too.
Meltzer would say overall, the show at the Ice Palace in Tampa was something of a routine show. It was somewhat mixed received, largely with criticism of the ending of the main event, even though generally speaking, everyone was impressed with the work rate involved. There were no matches off the page and some of the work was sloppier than usual, but the crowd seemed into most of it. The risks have been toned down, which is overall for the good of everyone concerned. The main event did see Austin put on his best performance since returning, and he topped it the next night on Raw. He was moving well, his offense looked good, and even took some bumps that one wouldn't figure he would. With both he and Triple H injured, much of the match was brawling outside the ring, but it was intense brawling. It was not the caliber of a main event that most WWF pay-per-view shows are noted for, but it wasn't a bad match, and those who were disappointed were probably reacting more to the new wave finish. What do you think? Is this finish just more commonplace here? I mean, Meltzer would even describe this as saying the rapidly changing world of wrestling has changed once again, as Austin and Triple H at the main event at Survivor Series didn't end with a pinfall with a ring, but with a forklift dropping a car purported to be with Triple H inside, theoretically to a Wile E. Coyote-like catastrophe. The angle, largely to explain Triple H taking some time off to rest his back and hip injuries, kept Triple H's unusual streak alive of having done no pinfall jobs and singles matches on pay-per-view to anyone other than The Rock since 1996, in a circumstance where normally everyone would have expected him to lose. A lot to unpack here. Do you think this sort of finish, before we tackle the Triple H thing, do you think this sort of finish was what Dave called sort of the new wave? Is that fair, or is this simply a one-off where we just had maybe too much gaga?
Oh, good question. I don't know, man. I think that we started deviating with the wrong matches at the wrong time on the stunts. Stunts. I'm not against stunts because I'm an old school guy, but they got to be used judiciously and intelligently and well placed. There's just no way that you can't tell me that two great workers like Triple H and Austin could not have come up with suggestions on their own, a finish. But it was a stunt finish. And I'm just not a big fan of stunt finishes, quite frankly. If they're really good, I've called a lot of them that were entertaining. I get that. But this is not this could have been outside. They could have done a little stunt here and there. But the sensational thing of dropping the car and all that stuff was kind of what Austin was. They're trying to replicate, the beer thing or a Zamboni or whatever. And kept going back to that well time and time again. And I can promise you that knowing Triple H and Steve as I do, they would have been happier, I think, just having a hell of a wrestling match, beating the shit out of each other, and then coming up with a quick one, as Pat Patterson would say, please, and going on about their business. Just too many stunts. And that was an era where stunts became the big deal. Stunt work, stunt preparation, stunt creative became a bigger part of the presentation. And that bothered me at times. And it still does. I still think wrestling fans want to see wrestling. And maybe I'm being oversimplistic, Conrad. You and I are a lot alike, even though our age differences are what they are. We're both still wrestling fans, and we both enjoy seeing wrestling. And I don't believe that the stunt show is a viable part of wrestling. It has come on the scene. It's a big deal now, and some guys rely on it. We had the Matt Hardy, Sammy Guevara thing on Full Gear from the Hardy compound. I didn't dislike it. I thought it might have been a little long, but it was a stunt show. And I'm glad we only had one on the card. And that's good for me. So I don't know, man. I may be sounding way retro and too old school. It's just got to be the right place, the right time. And when you've got two of the greatest workers at that time competing in the entire world, and we go that route instead of going the route where their strengths are, I thought that that was a mistake.
What do you think about Meltzer's observation here that, much like his old pal Shawn Michaels, Triple H seems to have an aversion from doing clean jobs on pay-per-view?
Well, he's got a point. I never heard Triple H refusing to do a job for anybody. And he certainly would not tolerate that today if he had talents on NXT or wherever that didn't want to put somebody over. He wouldn't go along with it. So I just never, sometimes those things are overstated. I didn't really realize until I read our notes that Triple H had not put anybody over on pay-per-view since 1996. But that's been made an issue. But to my knowledge, in the years I worked with him, and again, I signed him to his biggest contract. I believed in Triple H from early on, and I just don't know, man. I don't think that was ever a huge issue. It worked out to where it could be made a case, and if you didn't like Triple H, or you didn't like his relationship with Vince, and his relationship with Stephanie, now you're getting into a whole different area.
Right.
You really are. You really overanalyze the personal side of this shit, and it's unnecessary, man. But that's why I say, if for my money, if I could call back in those days, you exclude Rock and Austin, there's no match I would have rather called than Stone Cold and Triple H. I had that much respect for it because I always knew they were going to bring it. They're going to tell me a logical story that I could invest in, I could follow, and as a broadcaster, hopefully embellish, make better. So that whole thing became, political. Well, he's the boss's daughter. That boss daughter shit. Just, come on, man. The guy's a hell of a hand, and he just, I just thought some of that shit was unfair. But I get it. I'm not kissing his ass because I wanted to hire me. I'm good. I'm just telling the truth as I see it, and it's from my heart.
Right.
He's a hell of a heel. And the influences that Harley Race had on Triple H's game and psychology from Walter Killer Kowalski was evident every time out. He used some of those principles and those theories. So I had a lot of respect for that, still do. So I just think sometimes that the assessment of his deal and, we had to go all the way back to 96. He hasn't done a job. It's always a job. And job has a negative connotation. Well, he did the job. Oh, he's got to do the job tonight. Like it's a goddamn kiss of death. It's part of the process. Somebody should win and somebody should lose. And it's all a team effort. So if you're on the wrong end of the win-loss, I told some guys before, I said, when the USA Today was really blowing and going, I was a big reader every day, every Monday through Friday. And they had all these little lists and all these results and things. And I tell the talent, the USA Today has yet to publish the win-loss records of pro wrestling. So the only people that are making a big issue out of it seem to be you. And maybe that's not timely. So that's kind of how I feel about that thing. I would never have guessed the 96 to 2000 finish thing unless I read it. I didn't realize it was that way, just being honest with you.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.